Hello, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers off the Perception Diet, and today I have for you part 3 of how to love your body. So, if you haven't watched part 1 and part 2, stop this, go back, do that, alright? So I put the links down below. So, basically in part 1, we stopped scapegoating what we were really feeling onto our bodies, and we stopped complaining about our bodies to help us discover what's really going on. So if you're still practicing that, thumbs up, because you're just gonna learn more and more and more about yourself as you continue to do that process. So I just encourage you to continue on with that. Second thing was, so in part 2 we talked about no longer labeling food as good and bad, and no longer labeling your body as good and bad, and actually starting to find your virtue and your value in other things, to find your self-esteem in other things, to find those good feelings in other things. So that was part 2. So now, part 3. This is an exciting part. So this is following the what am I making it mean all the way through to the end. Alright? So, now that you kind of have started to look at what's really going on inside of you, you started to acknowledge some good things about yourself, I want you to take a step back, right? And I want you to go into all of these negative, scary, horrible thoughts you have about your body that make you feel bad, that make you feel nervous, that make you feel anxiety, that make you feel depressed, that make you feel like you can't love yourself, that make you feel like you're not worthy, that make you feel all these scary things, right? So what I'm talking about here is like all of this body image stuff that you have now decided you're not going to talk about, you're not going to express so much in the way of like, you know, do my thighs look fat? Does my belly look big in this? Do I look like I gained weight? Do I look puffy? Do I look bloated? Did I eat the wrong foods? Is my digestive issue because of this? Is my digestive issue because of that? Right? So all of these scary thoughts that we have about our bodies. What I want you to do now is to take those scary thoughts about your body that you have, and I want you to look at them for what they really mean. Okay? So, for example, basically when I started doing this practice and I started doing this process, so like one of my big fears was like, okay, like I'm afraid that I've gained weight, right? So I'm walking around really wanting to ask someone, do I look like I gained weight? Did I gain weight? Am I looking bigger today? Do my thighs look bigger today? Does my belly look bigger today? And that was like my big fear. That was like my big body image hang. I was like, did I gain weight? Do I look like I gained weight? And so what I did was I looked at that fear and I said, okay, so my fear right now is that I've gained weight, right? Why is that so scary? What am I making this mean? Okay, so I'd say, okay, well, if it means if I've gained weight, that means that I'm out of control of my body, right? That means that something is going on with my body. I didn't intend to gain weight. I didn't do something to purposely gain weight, so therefore my body is out of control, all right? So then you say, okay, if that's true, if my body is really out of control and I've gained weight, what does that mean? Well, that means that I might just go on this crazy upward spiral of weight gain and there's nothing I can do about it. Okay, so why is that so scary? Well, that scares me because then I'll be fat. Okay, so why is being fat so scary? Well, because if I'm fat, I feel like crap. Okay, so why is that true? If I'm overweight, why do I feel like crap? Well, because no one's gonna love me if I'm fat. Okay, so what happens if no one loves you if you're fat? Well, that means I end up alone and I'm just by myself and all I have is me. Okay, so why is that so scary? Because I don't love me. I don't want to be with me. I need other people to be approving of me all the time. Otherwise, if I'm just all alone by myself, I'm destined to a life of misery because I don't love myself, right? So this fear that I had that I've gained weight, I'm constantly on the lookout for, have I gained weight? Did I gain weight? Am I fat? Really was a fear of me being alone and me feeling rejected by everyone around me because I couldn't love myself. I couldn't approve of myself. So if I didn't have that loving, approving, accepting love from everyone around me, I felt like then that need is just not going to get met. There's going to be no love. The love is going to run out, right? And so I built up this whole thing in my head that if I'm thin, people will love me and then there will be love and I won't have to worry about there not being love. But if I gain weight, I've made up this whole big thing in my mind that means no one's going to love me and therefore I will have no love, All right. So I looked at that fear and I was like, okay, so the bottom line fear is if I gain weight, no one's going to love me and therefore I can't love myself and therefore I'm without love. What if that actually happened? Okay, so step one is following your fear all the way through to the end. What does that really mean? So when you're looking at those body fears, did I gain weight? Are my thighs bigger today? Is my belly bigger today? Did someone say something about my body that is not something that I want them to say? Did I eat something wrong? And you have these running thoughts that you constantly have that have no, like it doesn't matter how many times your boyfriend or your sister or your best friend tell you you didn't gain weight or tell you you're not fat or tell you you're fine. It doesn't matter. You cycle through them over and over and over again. Those are the thoughts you need to look at. Okay, so follow them all the way through the end. What are you really afraid of? What's really going on here? What are you really telling yourself about this? Because it's never going to be about the weight, and it's never going to be about your body, and it's never actually going to be about food, okay? There's always a much deeper fear going on, and usually it's the fear of love going away or the fear of you dying. That's almost always what it boils down to, okay? So follow that fear all the way through to the end, and you'll know you've hit it when it's like, yeah, okay, this is what's really going on. You'll know you've hit it when it isn't anything about your body. Okay, so if you're still saying like, well then I'll be fat, well then no one will love me because I'm fat, you're not there yet. Keep going. Why is that scary? What's gonna happen if that is true? What's gonna happen if that's true? Keep asking yourself this question until you get to the place where you know you've hit it, okay? So once you've actually discovered that fear, sometimes that will be enough to say, okay, that's not really real, right? I know that this isn't real. And other times you will get to the fear and you'll be like, yeah, no, that's really real. I'm really scared that if I gain weight and no one loves me, that I can't love myself. I can't give myself permission to love me. That this isn't a thing that I can do and that I will be miserable and scared forever. Or that I will die. Or that, I can't survive without the love of other people. Or whatever it is. You might get to the point where you feel this fear and this fear is really real. Okay? So now, step 2 in this process is look at that fear. Okay, that real deep fear that's actually the fear that's going on inside of you. And don't try and positive think your way out of it. Okay, so most people, especially in the spirituality world, would be like, just think positive. Just say, no, I love myself. I'm fine. And it's like, if that's not really real for you, if that doesn't really feel true, then that kind of positive thinking isn't going to help you. Okay, so again, I want you to take your fear, your real root fear, and I want you to say, okay, if this happens, where is my power? Okay, so for me, it came down to, okay, so my biggest fear is if I get fat and everyone abandons me, I will have to hate myself, right? And I can't love myself. And so I realized that was a story I was telling myself. Okay, so where is my power? My power is, even if everyone else says you're not lovable, you're not worthy, you're not acceptable unless you're thin, I still have the ability to decide for myself whether or not I agree with that or disagree with that, right? I still have the ability to say, okay, even if everyone else thinks I'm a piece of crap because I'm fat, I don't have to. I still have the ability inside my own mind to decide for myself how I'm going to feel about me, right? And even if right now I don't know how to love myself, I know that I could learn. I know that there are ways that I could learn to love myself. I know that there are ways that I could learn how to approve of myself, right? I've already started doing my positive aspect journaling, and maybe there are some things about me that are not so terrible, right? So you just start to take your power back in the middle of your fear. So if that fear is everyone's going to leave me and I'm going to be alone forever and I can't be like that, it's like, okay, where's my power in that? If I'm the one that's with me, and I'm the one that gets to decide how I feel about myself, I get to decide how I feel about myself. It doesn't matter what other people have decided about me. It doesn't matter what I've gone through. It doesn't matter how I've rejected myself in the past. It doesn't matter all of these things, because every moment is a new moment for me to decide how I'm going to feel about myself, right? So you get to that fear, and then you look at, what is the story I'm telling myself here? And am I willing to tell myself a new story? That is all that is required, okay? So you get down to that root fear. I can't love myself. I'm going to die. I'm going to be alone, da-da-da-da-da. And then you say to yourself, this is a story I'm telling myself. This is just a story that I am telling myself. And then you say to yourself, where's my power here, and or what's the new story I'd like to tell myself, right? So for me, like I said, the new story I wanted to tell myself was that I could love myself even if I was fat and everyone else hated me. Because that is true, right? Because if I've decided that I have to hate myself based on how I look, I can just as easily and equally decide that I can love myself no matter how I look, right? And even just by telling yourself this new story, okay, so I know the old story is I can't love myself if I'm fat. Okay, so what's the new story? I want to tell myself the new story that I can learn to love myself no matter how I am. As you start to tell yourself this new story, your brain, which is the evidence collecting machine, is going to start looking for evidence to support your new story. There's a butterfly that's flying outside, so thank you, butterfly. So basically, to understand that when you've been telling yourself this scary story, that I can't be loved if I'm fat, I can't love myself if other people don't love me, or whatever it is that root story is for you, right? Your brain has then gone about looking for evidence for how that story is true. All right, so this doesn't mean that the story is fundamentally true. This means that your brain said, okay, we've decided on this, and now it's my job to look for all the reasons why this is true. So you've told yourself this scary story that you can't be loved if you're overweight, say, and so then your brain has gone to work and has chronicled every single time someone rejected you because of your weight, okay? And it has completely dismissed anything that does not align with that story. So anytime someone was nice to you, even though you were overweight, your brain forgot that. Anytime someone told you they loved you and they don't really care if you're gaining weight or losing weight, your brain forgets that. But the one time someone looked at you and said something like offhand about your body, you're gonna remember that forever, because that aligns with your story, okay? So that's where your power is. When you start to decide that I want to believe this new story, and you start to tell yourself this new story, every single time you feel that feeling inside your body that like, oh, have I gained weight? Oh, is my legs bigger? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I know what this is, right? I know that this aligns with this old fear story. Now, what's my new story that I want to tell myself? And I'm going to tell myself that that's the truth. Then your brain is going to go about looking for the evidence to support that new story. Okay? And as you do this, this is a positive feedback loop, right? As you tell yourself this new story, I can learn to love myself. I can learn to love myself anytime, any place, any weight, any space. Doesn't matter. I can learn to love myself. And then your brain is going to start to amass evidence for how this new story is true. And then as you do that over and over again, all of a sudden it's super easy to believe your new story because you have all this evidence that supports that it's true. Okay? So this is what you do. Take the surface fear. Follow it all the way through to the root fear. Take that fear and understand that yes, my brain has been amassing evidence for how this story is true for a long time. Now, take my power back, right? This is a story I've been telling myself. I can tell myself a new story. What's the new story I'd like to tell myself? So you tell yourself that new story. Then anytime you feel that trigger in your body, that trigger of did I gain weight, blah, 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 just like what prompted you to follow this fear all the way to the end, you tell yourself the new story. All right? And then your brain is going to start to amass evidence for how this new story is true. So for bonus points, as you're doing your positive aspect journal, start to look for evidence and write down evidence that supports your new story. So someone gave me a hug today, and obviously they loved me even though I didn't lose any weight, right? My boyfriend told me he thought I looked beautiful today, even though I haven't lost any weight. My friends all wanted to hang out with me, even though I didn't eat a perfect diet today. Look at that. It's all supporting my new thoughts, my new patterns, my new story that I'm telling myself, okay? So you start to amass evidence that supports your new story. You tell yourself the new story every single time you feel that negative, scary feeling, and this is how you start to move towards believing the new story, feeling better in your body, feeling like you take all this pressure off your body to be this perfect thing, otherwise this huge catastrophe is going to happen, and you start to love your body more, okay? So that's part 3. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Find me on Facebook, Perception Trainers. Find me on Instagram, Ali_Perception Trainers. And if you're interested in the Perception Diet telecourse, I want you to send me an email to theperceptiontrainers@gmail.com. because I love doing this book. So basically we just go through the book, one chapter a week, all together, and we have insights and we have discussions and we have so much fun, and it's like you get to do coaching with me without having to do coaching with me. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns about that, send me an email, and I'll see you in the next video.